I'm Jim Anderson. We've spoken before. My group number three is tasked with trying to establish a world-class restaurant system here in the Highlands that reflects well upon locally produced produce. Uh, Above all else, restaurants are commercial ventures. So, in order for them to work at their greatest potential, and create this world-class restaurant system in the Highlands, the rest of the food supply chain must be in place. And we don't necessarily have a lot of influence over that, even though we do create a demand for it. So that from quality of farming to sustainable rearing and traceability and supply and delivery, all must be at a consistent enough level to enable restaurants to perform at their best. Garbage in, garbage out. Outside of these issues, a consistency of training needs to be achieved that is not being achieved right now, either through formal training or on the job experience. I think that most restaurants run a combination of both. But the point is that the customer needs to have their expectations met or exceeded. It's important that the customer experience be the result of a certain transparency in a restaurant's approach to having customers in the first place. It's not enough to say that your meals are excellent. They actually have to be excellent. And if your food comes out of the freezer, don't tell people that it's not out of the freezer. And if it's fresh, tell them it's fresh. But be transparent and honest about it. And I think that it was agreed by our group to be a rather seminal issue in establishing credibility on a world stage. It's also important to take into consideration what might be construed as the limitations of Highland life, dodgy electrics, dark winters, dodgy internet, variable weather, the list goes on and on. We all know about them. And incorporate these into the customer's experience. And staff training can make or break that element. Also, there was a consensus that the colleges are not necessarily pulling their weight in terms of training people to work in restaurants. Um, if the employee turns up at a restaurant for the job with actual practical experience and knowledge, the restaurant can make sure then that that employee will then go on to adapt to the quirks and individuality of that restaurant. But it's frustrating to get somebody in from a college and have to teach them everything about cooking. And that's a failing in the system that needs to be addressed. That being said, if management don't lead by example and create a good, positive work environment that reaffirms that this is a good career to be in, then the whole thing doesn't work at all. We've all heard stories about pan throwing and hissy fitting and that type of thing, and that just cannot happen in Highland restaurants. It's just not the way. We already have world-class ingredients, and we do fall short sometimes in our preparation of them and our presentation of them. And I think that is the crux of what needs to be done on the side of the restaurant to improve the world-class restaurant scene. But we also suffer from consistency of supply, delivery, and affordability of the ingredients that we're supposed to use. And so I think that the purpose of these conversations is to try to get the different parts of the supply chain to work together and to work their best to make sure that the end result is as good as possible. And that's what our conclusion was.